Please start the preview. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Live.
Okay.
Okay.
It's on. Yay! Wait. Broadcast alert. Turn. Oh, remove the broadcast alert. Okay. Did you put the broadcast alert in there?
Yeah, I put the broadcast alert in to let people know that it's going to be a minute.
All right. Hello, everyone. Hello. I am Leonard French, your favorite wire-laden copyright attorney. And this is Kaylee, who's both my girlfriend and also a chemistry teacher. And she often has some very good insight as well. So, Leonard, I am muted. What? What's going on? I am not muted. I should not
He
be.
is not muted.
I am definitely not muted. Can someone confirm if they have audio?
I have audio.
You have audio? Okay.
Okay.
We have audio. Yay!
We are good. Good.
And she often has... Yes, we do have audio. Okay, sorry for the somewhat low quality audio, but we're working with a boom mic at this point. I didn't really like the lavalier mic for doing a two-person talk thing on a couch. In the future, I'll probably figure out how to put the boom mic maybe a little closer, but this should be okay for now. So, welcome, everyone. Let me take a look at chat again, because that's what I like to do.
The guy that was saying you're muted says, I think my headphones died.
Of course.
To be fair, though, I did that when I hopped into the Discord channel with everybody. I was like, why isn't anybody saying hi back? I'm like, why is everyone being so rude? Nope, that was my headphones. My fault.
So rude. Gosh.
All right, so welcome everyone. We have a very special Saturday live stream for you here. Why in the heck are we doing this on Saturday instead of Sunday? Well, I am currently in my last day here in Scotland, and I'll be leaving Miss Kaylee tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning, to head to the airport and get the heck out of here. Go to Iceland for a 26-hour stopover in Keflavik. I don't think I'm going all the way to Reykjavik tomorrow. I'm going to go from Keflavik to the Blue Lagoon. I'll spend a night at the Blue Lagoon. If anyone in chat wants to tell me what I'm in for, I've honestly just spent the money and booked it and have absolutely no idea what I'm in for. It's supposed to be hot springs, but I'm not sure if they're really that hot, or I don't even know if it's light outside this time of year, whatever. So tomorrow, about this time, I'll be, I guess, taking off. No, actually, I'll be at the Blue Lagoon because I still have my time on Eastern time on my laptop because I'm a stubborn person like that.
For those of you who are watching this on Twitch on Sunday and are very confused about why we're talking about tomorrow and today being Saturday,
right.
This is a pre-recorded stream on Twitch, so I feel like we should mention that right at the top so that people are aware that their chat is not going to be.
Very good idea. This is definitely going to be posted to Twitch during the normal Sunday show live stream tomorrow for those people who like to watch and support on Twitch. And I apologize in advance that I couldn't make it to do the live stream. I will literally be on the plane in the air during the live stream time, and there would, even if I had Wi-Fi on the plane, there's no way that it supports any kind of data rate to do any sort of stream. Yeah. So maybe I could get away with doing like an audio stream.
Well, normally all streaming things are blocked. Whenever even Discord was blocked for me on the plane. Okay.
So then having to go through a VPN to get around that is going to make it even harder. Yeah. So obviously there's just a huge problem there. So we'll post this to Twitch, and we're going to go ahead with this recording like it's one of our normal live streams. Brandon will edit the individual stories into things that get posted to YouTube. So I apologize if you see these things twice or even three times since some of our diehard fans will watch this stream and then watch the Twitch stream and then see something posted to YouTube. However, our audience, our wider audience, we only seem to get so many people on a YouTube stream or Twitch stream, and so to get the video out to the wider audience and to have it picked up by people who aren't part of our core audience, a good 50% of our audience is not a subscriber. So it could be even higher than that, depending upon the video. So we want some of these videos to get seen by people who aren't, frankly, you. we that helps. So I apologize for that. However, resistance is futile, and your cooperation is very much appreciated.
This is liable to be one of our most watched Sunday shows in like more than a year, probably, because it was almost exactly 1 year ago today that we started doing this Twitch streams on Twitch rather than YouTube. It was January 2017 or 18, sorry. So
okay, interesting. I don't remember exactly when we did. So that's cool. So welcome everyone. What are we going to talk about today? I have a few things to talk about. First, I want to reverse shout out to Legal Eagle. Someone please post a link to his video in chat. He did a video where MatPat from Game Theory wrote or did a video all about the Fortnite dance moves copyright thing. And if you go section by section by section, it seems like MatPat's video was taking a similar format and direction as Legal Eagle's video. I haven't been able to watch all of it. I can't determine its veracity for myself right now, but go watch Legal Eagle's video, and I guess Game Theory's video, and see what you think for yourself. But I don't even know his name. I think it's James. Legal Eagle shouted out to us, and he might not exactly appreciate that we're your favorite copyright attorney and not him. So I think that's kind of funny. He said in the comments that he's not trying to throw shade at us. He was just saying that he dies a little inside as a little comment. I don't know what else to call that. I think it's fun. I appreciate all the other YouTube law channels. I really do. I don't see it as competition. I see it as a community. And frankly, you're a freaking awesome community. So I'm happy to have all the people join our community. I would love to see our community be something even larger than myself. That's awesome. I mean, arguably it already is something larger than myself, but I mean, just our community growing and growing and growing is awesome. I think we had 1,000 Discord subscribers a year or two ago. Now we have over 3,600. That's awesome. We love to talk to you guys about the law. I realize that I could probably find ways to participate more and better and all that, and we love to hear your suggestions about that. We have some staff now, but I'm going to save that for the next story when we get there. I have a kind of a 2018 recap for you. We're going to go over some of the things we did on the channel in 2018 and bring you all up to speed if you missed anything as to where we are. What's kind of a state of the channel. But after that, we will talk about the Weather Channel. If you live in the US, you could possibly never get through a life without hearing about the Weather Channel, watching it on TV. I don't know, maybe your father watches the Weather Channel like it's a news channel, and every time you go over to your father's house, he's got the Weather Channel on. That's my dad. Absolutely loves watching the Weather Channel. So you can't get away with not knowing about the Weather Channel, especially now that I'm going to be talking about it. They are being sued by Los Angeles County for illegally selling your location data. And so if you use the TWC app on your phone, you want to hear about this, and you might think about adjusting your permissions. And I don't even know if that's going to change anything, because if you use the app, it needs to know a location, and that's apparently what they're selling. So
you can manually add your zip code, but like using the location finder is a lot easier.
Yeah, and even if you use a zip code, that's still kind of a unique identifier. If I recall correctly, it wasn't that long ago. I know maybe a decade sounds like a long time, but as far as the internet's concerned, it's been around for longer than this. About a decade ago, there was a report that you only really needed 3 pieces of information about a person, and you could uniquely identify one person. So nothing terribly complicated either. I mean, obviously, if you have like 3 pieces of information and it's name, address, phone number, yeah, I get that. But let's say you have first name, gender, and zip code. You can probably find the person, is how a lot of these things work. Get even like one more piece of uniquely identifiable information, and you're pretty much rock solid. So you really don't need that much to be able to track the marketing habits of any one individual. And now with computers and processing and all that getting more and more and more powerful, I don't see any reason why these marketing companies don't know exactly what Kaylee or Leonard or Brandon or Tactical do, on the internet. They probably can figure out, oh, we want to sell drones to Leonard French, and we want to sell cat toys to Kaylee, and, I'll let Brandon or Tactical chime in with what they might get sold. But you get what I'm saying, is they can target ads to you, and sort of worse. Facebook was able to use it to figure out political leanings. Cambridge Analytica was able to take that to an even greater level, and that was used to influence elections. So it's powerful information. Let's go over that in a moment. We will talk about the Above the Law article, which claimed that there was a letter sent out by the OPM, Office of Professional Management. What is the OPM? I didn't actually look up what it stood for. Anyway, sent out by the OPM about the government shutdown, the U.S. government shutdown furlough thing. The letter was giving you templates. If you were a government employee who had been furloughed, you might want to contact your creditors, your landlord, your mortgage company, your bank or whatever, and say, hey, I'm going to be having trouble paying my bills here in X number of days or whatever. What do you want me to do about it? Well, the letter to the landlord had a line in there about, well, you could try trading your services as a maintenance worker, which is a little tone deaf to me. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll end with a really funny one. Bruner v. Burger King. A Burger King customer got locked in the bathroom for over an hour. Burger King made a deal with him that he'd get free burgers for life, and they apparently reneged on the deal, and so he's suing them for $9,000 or the free burgers for life. And if they don't want to do that, then he's suing them for getting locked in the bathroom. So it's a very good example of a well-pled complaint, and I thought we should go over that. So first, go ahead.
The OPM is the United States Office of Personnel Management.
Personnel Management. Thank you.
Look that up as well.
So that will be the Office of Personnel Management. But first, let's talk about the channel, Lawful Masses. We are here to stay. We've crossed some major barriers this year. When I started this channel, and so let's go back. Actually, I don't know that everyone knows the origin story. I don't want to take forever here, but I don't know that anybody knows the origin story. I never intended to be a lawyer on YouTube, right? This was not. I never meant, at least at first, did not mean to be your favorite copyright attorney, to make Lawful Masses what it is. I actually owned the Lawful Masses domain name and the corresponding Awful Asses domain name before I ever thought of a channel. The Lawful Masses domain name was supposed to be a website where we talked about things in the law, and then Awful Asses was supposed to be like talking about those terrible things that happen that are law related. And that was before the Fine brothers tried to trademark the word react for reaction videos. And so I put on a beanie, and I think I was even, I don't know if I was in a bathrobe or like it might have been a bathrobe. I don't remember. And that video is still live on the channel. You can go find out. And I talked to the camera at like an odd angle. It was like on the desk looking straight up at me, and it was just an odd video. But it got 185,000 views. And all of a sudden people wanted to know all about trademark law. And I was blown away, absolutely blown away that I could make money on YouTube. Now, I wasn't unfamiliar with making money on YouTube, and I was probably headed down a dark path of making roadcam videos for YouTube because I had a dashboard camera or roadcam video go, I don't know if it's viral. It's not been like one spike, but like every once in a while, that stupid old bus crushing a BMW's mirror over the course of like 2.5 minutes, very, very slowly, has like 2 million views. It's about to cross 2 million views.
Yeah, it still outperforms like 60% of our videos.
Yeah, when we have a bad month, we still get revenue from the roadcam video.
It's periodically popular.
Yeah, it got another 200,000 views in December.
Yeah.
We I think it was like the day after Christmas. I'm like, why do we have, what video could possibly be doing this? And I went to the analytics page and there it is, bus video. So
we first thought it was like the Boxing Day live stream that's really done well, but
yeah, somehow we thought it was our live stream that did well, but I understand not everybody wants to go watch long, boring videos about law. But the thing is they're not boring once you're interested in the law, once you have learned to love the law, as Professor Foonberg says, you overcome that and suddenly you understand and it's super interesting. So that's something that started it all. Those two things, the bus video and the Fine Brothers React video. And from there, the thing happened with H3H3, and then the thing happened with Imagos. But that was 2017. We're here to talk about 2018. So, big milestone in 2018. While Kaylee was visiting me in the States, like October 16th or something, we hit 100,000 subscribers and kept going. We're now at 106,000 subscribers. And that was my goal. I was trying not to force it. I mean, you can't really force it, but you can also screw it up if you try to force it. So I was trying not to force it. I was just hoping to make quality content and hoping that you guys would subscribe in greater and greater numbers, and we went from 10,000 the first year to 25,000 the second year to 100,000 in 2018, and that's really cool. We ended up getting our silver play button literally the day before I came here, so I don't have the silver play button with me, but I had the one day to hang it up, and I think we made a video.
There was a live stream before you went.
There was a live stream before I went.
Like
right before I went.
Yes.
And then the play button is still hanging up in my house, assuming that my heating system didn't melt it. If you guys have a wireless thermostat, or not wireless as in not connected to your thing, but as in Wi-Fi connected thermostat, you might want to be careful not, when you reset the thing, because I had to reset it because the Wi-Fi had stopped working. And when I reset it, it also reset all of the settings as to which kind of heating system I had. I then promptly left, came here, and checked on it 4 days later to find that my house was at 91 degrees Fahrenheit. So we fixed that. My parents were very nice, went over there, helped me reset it back to its settings. It was literally just finding the right setting and putting it back, and my house is now at 57 degrees while I'm waiting to get back there. So we did some really interesting stories in 2018. We had the Bob Murray, John Oliver thing, which is still sort of going on. It reached the West Virginia Court of Appeals, I think, and we're still waiting to hear news on that. There was Star Control, there was Star Citizen, there was the fake cop who attacked me. And I'm feeling much better about now, thank you very much. But holy mackerel, I wondered how long I was going to suffer PTSD from that. Because for the first couple months after that happened, I didn't want to drive. I didn't like tailgaters. I was really suffering a little bit from that, and it wasn't something that I wanted to try and recover money from the fake cop. I didn't think that was going to help the situation either. So we just kind of suffered through it. That's just part of who I am. Yes, one of our top videos in 2018 was still the bus BMW video. The Imagos and Alex Maurer situation did not rear its ugly head in any significant way in 2018. Keeping my mouth shut about the future because I am not predicting anything on that. But we have a signed document, and hopefully everyone can just go their separate ways. I don't know how much I'm supposed to pass along, but there was a public announcement in the Star Mazer forums from Don Thacker that he plans on doing our very best to release I think Star Mazer in 2019. So I'm looking forward to that myself. I really don't have any more information about that. Don is a very creative professional, and as you might be aware, creative professionals need space. They, when when you see all this drama happen with video game developers and stuff, some of that is just drama. But when it's getting back to the actual developer and when they're getting stressed out about it, and I'm not speaking just about Don here, this is for me too. I mean, I'm the same way. It messes us up. It can actually stall development or stall creative output if too much stuff gets to us and we are too affected by it. I can give you a short version of this for myself. Very recently, someone last weekend was conducting their own investigation into me, and they were doing so very publicly, and they were letting everyone who was listening know that they didn't think that I was legitimate, and they were going to complain professionally about me. And you know what? That I didn't really feel like I had to answer that particular person, but you can be damn sure that I sharpened my axe and my swords and made sure all my staff knows every legitimate basis that we operate on, and that we are prepared to answer any such investigation. Now, we also have a wonderful community, and many of you came to our defense and might have actually mitigated someone's energy for the complaint. So I don't actually expect there to be a complaint, and I don't actually expect if there was a complaint that it would reach me, because these things have no merit. We do operate on a professionally sound basis, and if there is something to complain about, we would correct it. And if there was some violation of something, we would address it. So I'm not going to be secret about anything. If we receive a complaint and it's not something unrelated to the channel, if it's related to the channel, I'll talk about it. So I'm not encouraging anyone to file a complaint, but we are prepared for it, and it's all written down. We would basically just have to send it in, our response. So that's really cool that we have a community that goes to bat for us. So this year has been more about the channel and moving away from the channel being a one-man operation. Now we have staff. We have Brandon doing community management and editing. We have Cerulean doing development, which you guys saw an actual product, because we do a lot of development projects, and Cerulean does a lot more development projects than even I know about. And that doesn't always reach the public eye, because a lot of times we're learning, or we find a technical reason why maybe something's not a great idea to do. So, for example, Sponsus is a great idea. It's also very hard, and it involves the soft details of dealing with payment processors. And there's currently this issue with payment processors maybe not liking certain political viewpoints, which is really weird, because payment processors should be viewpoint neutral, even though there might not be a law against it. That's really strange to me, and I might not agree with people like Sargon of Akkad. However, I agree with his right to exist. I agree with his right to make videos, and I agree that payment processors should not be messing with his revenue streams. If there's more to the story, if he's truly done something horrible that I need to know about, please have a conversation in the comments about it, and we'll all talk about it. Even the worst people I can think of, I really can't imagine why we need to be messing with them through their revenue stream. If there's someone who's committing vast copyright infringement or destroying people's businesses through counterfeiting or something, yeah, that's where we start messing with revenue streams. That's because that's the only way to get to them. If you have a problem with someone's words, use your words. And if you cannot articulate yourself, that's evidence that you need to refine your position. It doesn't mean you have to change your position, but it should be a self-reflective moment to reevaluate. Why am I going into a bookstore and turning Jordan Peterson books around and flipping Dilbert books upside down? Why is a person going into a bookstore and hiding books from people? That's a weird thing. If that person's position is sound and the people that they're talking about are as horrible as they say they are, tell us. Tell us what's so horrible, and we'll all talk about it, and if you're right, we'll agree with you. What's this whole thing about self-help trying to prevent people from buying someone's books? Dilbert? What the heck is wrong with Dilbert? Is it because Alice is characterized as a different kind of woman than a traditional woman. I don't know what the problem with Dilbert is. I also don't have a problem with Jordan Peterson. He has lots of great life advice for people. I've given his book to people to help, the self-help kind of thing. I've read his book. I went to one of his seminars. I'm not a big fan. I'm not going to go jump into a rally or something, but again, I agree with his right to exist. And I don't understand why people would need to mess with the revenue stream of a clinical psychologist who happens to be addressing some very controversial views. Are his positions on those controversial? Not as much as the media makes it out to be. I've seen some very damning things from articles that then I follow up with, and it's not as true as the article made it out to be. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm not defending Jordan Peterson beyond. I don't understand why we're messing with people's revenue streams. Anyway, so our community in 2018 helped us with some major expenses. The dog, Ilsa, had her leg surgery. Now we had 2 leg surgeries. We asked for your help in August because we were having some revenue problems. We weren't going to be able to weather the storm of $4,000 dog surgery expense. That came after 2 $3,000 car expenses. And my car is otherwise in good shape, so I wanted to keep my car. I realized that I could have put $6,000 into a used car, but then what happens if something breaks on the used car? I could easily have a $2,000 expense on a used car. So I know my car. I've been taking care of my car. So I felt like the better decision was to make this the last thing on the car, and then next thing that goes that's a major expense, we'll get rid of the car. Or maybe I'll be smart and I'll sell the car for a little bit of money before it needs another major piece of repair or something. But the community helped us out with those things, and I'm eternally grateful to you for that. The dog needed a second surgery, but by then things had turned around a little bit. Also, we converted you made about $2,100 in donations to the dog surgery the first time around, and we were doing well within a few months after that. So I donated $500 of that money to the local no-kill animal shelter, Forgotten Felines and Fidos in Germansville, PA. I've heard it pronounced Germansville as well, so I don't know which one is right, but it's a legit organization, a no-kill shelter, houses mostly cats, but lots of dogs too, provides low-cost veterinary services, spay and neutering clinics, and things like that. So very legitimate organization, and so we were able to help out there. And rest in peace to Dick Bowman, who was the co-founder who passed this year unexpectedly in a traffic accident. So because of your generosity, we were uninterrupted for that period. I didn't have to stop producing videos for the channel and go take on traffic cases or something like that. However, when we realized that we were having revenue problems, I took other steps as well. And I hired Tactical as a member of my law firm now. And Tactical works for me as a part-time paralegal. And she is damn good. And we have been able to increase our revenue while not really increasing the time that I had to spend. I was able to be more of a core lawyer and have my paralegal do the core paralegal things rather than me doing everything. And thanks to Tactical and Cerulean, and a little, Brandon as well, but I mean specifically with the law firm effort, Cerulean has been helping Tactical automate things in the law firm too. And this has been tremendous. We were saving $100 a month or more just on expenses that we now were able to automate into free with free services instead, and with Cerulean's code and all that. So I've, instead of been paying that money to them or to the services, that money is now revenue that we can pay to Tactical. I don't have Cerulean on salary yet, but that's the goal for 2019, is to be able to pay my staff more or less a part-time salary or even full-time salary if it reaches that level. And so that's one of the things we're going to be trying to do with this daily release schedule and videos, is trying to make it so that Brandon has work to do and therefore Brandon gets paid. And if my predictions are correct, we should be able to cover Brandon entirely just by having him do daily videos, if I have my numbers correct. So I'm not sure how well this is going to work out. There's a risk here, and Brandon already has a job, but he can't leave until this one is ready to take over full time. So what I'm going to do is take some time, build up sort of a financial buffer, like some money in an account, so that if Brandon switches his job and then everything falls apart, no matter whose fault it is, that he has a buffer, some kind of like money to sort of like an unemployment compensation package, but in Pennsylvania, part-time workers don't really get unemployment, and at least not as far as I think they do, but it's different. I forget exactly what all the standards are. It's been about 7 years since I did any unemployment law, but we'll be able to help cover any expenses with regards to finding another job if we screw that up.
The Brandon Fund.
The Brandon Fund. So we're trying to protect ourselves with financial and business decisions that make sense. And then finally, 2019, I expect to be, well, not finally for this story, but finally for this section. Finally, I think we're going to be moving to nonprofit status in 2019. I'm unfamiliar with how much I'm supposed to say before we actually switch. So let me be very clear. We are currently a for-profit organization. I currently have to pay taxes on any money that I keep, that I realize as income, but it's also being run as a sole proprietorship, so expenses are fully deductible and all that. So your donation is not tax deductible at this time, but that's the goal, is that you wouldn't have to pay your own income taxes on the money that you're donating. And that would be something that it might help people donate more money. It might help us gain legitimacy, as in, not only are we doing what we say we do, but now we have to file official tax documents and disclosure forms and things about what we're doing. And so far we've had overwhelming support for this, and it's more just my own personal fear of screwing it up that has us not taking that plunge instantly. So
yeah, I mean, you've always said that, like, in order for an idea to become like something that you were willing to do, you need like a month to think about it, and this is like a really big idea, so like you need more time to think. And
we've been thinking about it for a year, basically. Yeah. We had some support from the Wayne Foundation. Jamie Walton, is her last name? Walton Tactical? I forget her last name.
Yes.
We had some support from Jamie Walton. I'm very, very grateful to Jamie for her offer. We didn't take her up on that. That was out of my fear. That was my personal fear of not knowing what I was doing yet. I feel like I need to know everything before I even let someone else help us. So that's, we're working on it. So real quick, just to finish up with the law practice part of this, we've also gotten recognized in public. That's a thing that's been happening. I go to law conferences and other lawyers watch us and give us a great big handshake with a great big smile. And it doesn't seem like they're saying like, oh, you poor person. Rather, they're saying, wow, that's really cool what you're doing. Please keep going. We've been recognized in non-legal scenarios as well. My friend John and I were buying fireworks for 4th of July. And someone was like, whoa, you're Leonard French. And I turned around and I was Leonard French, apparently. And I was the person he was looking for, or thought he saw. So that was really cool. This has happened a couple times. I don't expect to be a celebrity or something, but it's nice to know that there is an audience and you really do watch and pay attention and recognize and everything. And so it made it quite real to start running into people, it had happened before, but it just seems to be happening more and more often.
I have a funny story.
Yeah?
I got recognized too.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, I got recognized playing Tabletop Simulator. Someone was like, cool. wait a second. Are you Brandon from Lawful Masses? I was like, yeah. They're
Oh,
like,
that's cool.
"Hi, I was playing poker with them." I was like, "Okay, what's up?"
So one point from the law practice, when we were attacked last weekend, well, in the middle of a movie as well. It was like we were at the theater watching a movie when we found out about all this, and I was like, I want to watch the movie, but I also want to address this. There were some interesting things that were said about how I couldn't possibly be as legitimate as I say I am because I can't be found on certain court dockets. Well, that's half true, but like most half truths, there's another half to it. In case anyone's wondering, you can find my cases on Pacer, on the Public Access to Courts electronic records. I've been involved in several very public cases. I also do a lot of cases that settle out of court before it ever gets to court. We fight copyright trolls, and copyright trolls are, I mean, now let me be fair. It's my opinion that they're copyright trolls. The courts have not necessarily said in all circumstances that these guys are the legal definition of copyright trolls. But we fight copyright plaintiffs, and many of the cases, 95% of the cases, settle out of court. This is not something I'm proud of that we've fought so many cases. I'm not necessarily proud that they don't all get won, in the sense that we don't always blow away the opposing counsel and eliminate every copyright plaintiff in existence. It's the law doesn't work like that. The cases don't work like that. We're fighting very large law firms, some of the largest law firms in the world, and we're certainly fighting law firms that are filing the most number of copyright cases in the history of copyright law. So, am I a copyright attorney? Absolutely yes. We represented in over 750 copyright matters. There's no equivocation here. I'm a copyright lawyer. Am I a copyright expert? Am I a copyright specialist? And am I better than any copyright lawyer out there? No. In my legal and professional responsibilities, I am not allowed to make false and misleading statements of material fact, which these would be if I'm saying what I am and who I can represent and what kind of license I have. We're also not allowed to claim to be experts or specialists in fields that don't have a certification, a legally recognized recognized certification or something. And there is no you're an expert in copyright law certification. What there is a Rule 1.1, the very first rule in the book. Rule 1.1 responsibility, a duty of competence. So what I can say is that I am competent in areas of copyright law, that I would be able to become competent if any representation was involved in any area of copyright law that I wasn't already familiar with, and that I represent in areas of copyright piracy, and that's where my core competency is. So yes, we're real copyright attorneys, and that's what that means. That I shouldn't say. Yes, I'm a real copyright attorney because we aren't copyright attorneys. I am a copyright attorney, and this is my staff. But yes, I'm a real copyright attorney, and this is the basis for me saying that. To finish up the little bit of self-bragging here, or the state of the channel, we managed to expand the law practice while also expanding the channel. I said most of this other stuff. We met Ms. K for the first time. Now, I had known Ms. Kaylee since the Imagos matter. I had known about her from Musical Antihero, who I'm not sure if he watches our channel anymore, but shout out to Musical Antihero for, I'll put it this way, he convinced me that even though Miss K was in Scotland, I should pay attention and give her the time of day, as they say. And so a very, very patient Miss Kaylee took a very patient amount of time to get to know me and let me know that she was there. And then we eventually played video games, Helleborn, I think it was, yes, in like October, November or something of 2017. And then a year later, she flew to meet me in the States. And then for Christmas, I flew back to meet her for her birthday and the Christmas and New Year's holiday. So thanks to the channel, I met Miss K, and thanks to Musical Anti-Hero for making sure I knew who she was. And thank you to Scotland for being so accommodating. This place is awesome. It's a little wet and a little cold, but it's also not that cold, and it's also not that wet. I would like to see the sun again. That would be nice. We don't see very much sun here in Scotland, but had a very nice trip. It was wonderful. It was mostly inexpensive thanks to being able to stay here with Miss K and not needing to rent a hotel room. I mean, and then the vacation was wonderful. We got to see Edinburgh, the Christmas market. We got to see the Glasgow Christmas market. We went to the Transport Museum because I love infrastructure. I love transportation. So we went there. We went to the Chinese Lantern exhibit, which you saw. We made a video on that. That was a lot of fun, and I highly recommend go visit those things. I don't know if it's still up, but
it's till to middle of February.
Middle of February. Okay, definitely if you have a chance to see the giant lanterns of China exhibit, that was amazing. If you don't have a chance to see it, you can watch our video on it because you basically get to see the whole thing from start to finish. And we've set it to some very appropriate music. So I think you'll like that if you haven't seen that already. Recently, we went to Loch Lomond, trying to get my down, but Loch Lomond, which is beautiful. Beautiful. There's a park. There's a castle. There's a boat. We didn't take the plane because it was all booked up, but there you can take a seaplane to go see everything. I got lots of video from the Pocket Osmo and from the Blackmagic camera, and I'm gonna make a video about that. I might make a video using the Loch Lomond song since it is obviously public domain. So we'll see what my creative endeavors get up to with that probably next week.
I sung that in choir.
It's a beautiful song, and I have my own take on it. Not terribly different, just I'm a singer myself, so maybe I'd like to try my hand at a little bit of Loch Lomond.
Loch Lomond. Sorry, I was a bass at the time.
I am still a bass, so it will be in the bass range. Okay, so that's pretty much our plan for, or our recap of 2018. Our plan for 2019, like I said, is pretty much we're going to try to take this thing nonprofit. We're going to try to focus on at least videos every 48 hours, but really, really the goal is to have a video out every day, a video out every 24 hours. It won't be every exact 24 hours, but to have one out pretty much every day, maybe at least 5 days a week, 6 days a week would be the goal. When I go back and look at our revenue statistics, it looks like this jagged thing, and I'd much more have it look like the sawtooth, the saw wave. That would be much more consistent, and if there's consistency, then I can start to pay people consistently, etc. We plan on adding additional Patreon benefits and figuring out how to diversify the Patreon support. I'm not happy about Patreon playing with people's revenue streams, and if I could just go ahead and blow Patreon away and never use it again, I might do that in protest. But I don't know that I can do that. We do have to pay people. I would like to pay Brandon consistently. I do have to pay Tactical consistently. Of course, Tactical's getting paid out of the law firm revenue, but that means that I'm not paying for the channel. The same revenue isn't going to the channel. So somewhere the revenue has to increase to support that. Fortunately, the law firm is working well. So the law firm is paying for itself, and then I'm using law firm money to help pay for the channel. At some point, the channel needs to be paying for itself too, is what I'm trying to say. If I can have Tactical take on responsibilities to write for the channel and have her paid by the channel, and have Brandon edit the videos and paid by the channel, that just means our quality, our production, and my availability to do things which this is my 2020 goal, I would like to start traveling and making these videos for you with the most awesome lawyers and law stories on location whenever I can. I would like to go around and give seminars on what access to law means or access to justice means. How do you get high school students or elementary school students interested in the law? This is a fundamental civics thing, a sociology thing, a core thing that people should know when they graduate from high school. They should understand the very basics of their legal rights and how the law works. Maybe even practically, how do you hire an attorney? When do you hire an attorney? What do you look for? It's great that we post these things to our YouTube channel, but our audience, I can see the numbers. Our audience is not 12-year-olds, is not 18-year-olds. Our audience pretty much starts at about 25 and goes on up to about 55, 65. And obviously, there are fewer and fewer people in the world who are over 65, 75. So, the numbers start dropping off. Our core bell curve is right there in the 25 to 55 range. And I'd like to I'm not talking about doing this to pimp the channel. I mean more to address what I see as a need for students to know more about the law. Not necessarily like on a test level, like not that you're going to be tested on the law, but also in real life, you're going to get tested on the law. So to be able to talk about what's going on in the news, you need to know a little bit about the law. To be able to talk about anything international, you're going to have to understand how it's different in a different country. To be able to understand when your rights are being violated, especially with now everybody's online and there's YouTube and people make streaming. Like what happens? I see it come across the feed all the time. If somebody gets a strike or a copyright claim on YouTube and they're very surprised and they have no idea how this could happen. And then when I chime in and say, well, you should sue, they go, asshole, what are you talking about, sue? I don't have any money to sue anybody. And then, no, wait a second. Like, there's a way to do it. Like, we can help you. You can figure this out. But it's just, by that point, the conversation is gone. The opportunity for enlightening is gone. So that's what I'm talking about. I think those opportunities are missing. And I would like to start advertising availability to speak at places or give a seminar or host a mock trial or help facilitate a mock trial or something like that. I think these things would be awesome. So, future. The future's future. No no trademark infringement intended, Don. No copyright infringement intended. Fair use.
I'm being told I should demand $300K a year or walk by John Diaper.
So I actually I have a friend, not Brandon, who works for NBC doing editing. And I have tried to get him to do my editing, and he has said, well, I can give you advice from time to time, but you're going to have to match my pay. And I'm like, yeah, I don't even get paid that. So
I am a much easier mouth to feed.
Yes, Brandon is a much easier mouth to feed than someone who lives and works in New York City. Unfortunately, that's really the major thing with my friend is that there's such a significant expense with having to live and work and pay for in New York City that we're not at that level yet. Ultimately, if we had Brandon as an editor and my award-winning friend Jason, my Emmy award-winning friend Jason editing for us, that would be my goal. I also think that there's a ceiling on his job, a glass ceiling, and he can't go any higher. Even if he transfers laterally in the organization, I don't think he goes any higher. So there's no ceiling on this.
Are you talking about me?
I'm talking about everyone for the ceiling, but especially trying to convince my friend who works for a major television studio. There's still a ceiling on his career. There's no ceiling on his career here if we're successful. However, there's not a whole lot of risk with a major television studio.
Yeah,
meanwhile,
NBC is not going under anytime soon.
YouTube could apocalypse us out of existence
tomorrow,
and we can't do anything about it. Even if I sue them, I'm not going to win. We've seen that with the Prager University and others who have either made claims or made arguments, and then I think a few people actually sued, and they were not successful. All right, so not intended to do 45 minutes on that, but it ended up being that way.
Really quick, could I ask? I'm sorry to do this, but Kaylee, could you turn your phone down just a little bit because I can hear Leonard feeding back through the microphone just a tiny bit.
My phone is on push to talk.
No.
The boom mic is picking up your earpiece. Is how.
No, is there any way I can just mute you because it's really annoying to hear you twice?
Yeah, you
yes,
can.
You can.
Absolutely. You just you long tap on him, and then there's like a local mute button that you can click.
There you go. That would have helped a couple weeks ago, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. For our first story today, let's talk about the people of the state of California versus the county, versus the county. Let me start this over first of all because I didn't bring it up on the screen. So for our first story today, let's talk about the people of the state of California. This is in the county of Los Angeles. This is in the Superior Court of California, by the way. This is not in a federal court. Versus TWC, which is the Weather Channel. So California is suing the Weather Channel. This is a complaint for injunctive relief, civil penalties for violations of unfair competition law, California's Business and Professions Code, which you've seen before. This gets cited a lot when people file things in California. Oh, first off, let's check why we went away. There we go. Let's not do that. I'm going to put us over here for this one because that will actually work out better. And let's go. Plaintiff, people of the state of California, by and through their attorney, file this action against defendants TWC Products. TWC has been deceptively, I'll start over. For years, TWC has deceptively used its Weather Channel app to amass its users' private, personal geolocation data, tracking minute details about its users' locations throughout the day and night, all the while leading users to believe that data will only be used to provide them with personalized local weather data, alerts, and forecasts. TWC has then profited from that data, using it and monetizing it for purposes entirely unrelated to the Weather Channel or Weather Channel app. In fact, unbeknownst to its users, TWC's core business is amassing and profiting from user location data. One more time, unbeknownst to its users, the Weather Channel's core business is amassing and profiting from user location data, according to the state of California. Indeed, it has been reported that TWC considers itself a location data company powered by the weather. TWC's failure to alert its users that their personal information will be transmitted to others for profit is no mere oversight. As the general manager of TWC's consumer division admitted, if a consumer is using your product and says, "Hey, wait a minute, why do you want to know where I am?" you are going to have some problems. Quote, the people seek injunctive relief to put an end to TWC's unfair business practices and civil penalties, both to punish TWC for its egregious conduct and to deter TWC from engaging in the same or similar conduct in the future. TWC is a subsidiary of International Business Machines Corporation, IBM, the IBM, which owns and operates the Weather Channel app, which is a mobile application that provides users with real-time weather information, etc. If you're not from the US, I don't know if you would use the Weather Channel app, but
thinking of it, I'm pretty sure the Weather Channel app is on the Wii applications as well, automatically installed. That's the only way I've ever seen it before.
Well, in the US, the Weather Channel is a very popular, probably the most popular weather station channel in the entire country. I mean, obviously, you've got local stations from place to place, and they're not going to be as popular as a national one. But even of the even of the national ones, I think the Weather Channel is still the most popular one. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what it is.
I would argue that Android comes with AccuWeather installed by default, so it might be AccuWeather now. Okay. But yeah.
The complaint says that TWC markets the app as the world's most downloaded weather app, approximately 45 million monthly users, According to at least one organization, the Weather Channel app was the most downloaded weather app from 2014 to 2017. Unfortunately, TWC takes advantage of its app's widespread popularity by using it as an intrusive tool to mine users' private geolocation data, which TWC then sends to IBM affiliates and other third parties for advertising and other commercial purposes entirely unrelated to either the weather or the Weather Channel app's services. The geolocation data collected by TWC is not limited to general information about the city, state, or zip in which users operate the Weather Channel app. Rather, the app tracks users' movements in minute detail, even when the users are not actively using it. As detailed in a recent New York Times expose, apps such as the Weather Channel app can trace users' second-by-second movements with startling precision, tracking where users live, work, and visit throughout the day and night, and how much time they spent at each location. This geolocation information can then be analyzed to determine users' daily habits, consumer preferences, and even their identities, valuable data that serves as the basis of an approximately $21 billion location-targeted advertising industry. TWC purports to obtain users' consent for geolocation tracking by deceiving users about how it will use their data. When seeking users' permission to track geolocation data, the app does not disclose to users that TWC will transmit that data to third party, nor that that data will be used for advertising and other commercial purposes bearing no relation to the weather or the services provided by the app. To the contrary, the app misleadingly suggests that such data will be used only to provide users with personalized local weather data, alerts, and forecasts. When seeking consent for geolocation tracking, the app does not reference or link to any other section of the app for more information on the topic, or give users any reason to believe that their location data will be used for anything other than personalized location or personalized local weather data, alerts, and forecasts. Too many weathers. Wow. Users, therefore, have no reason to seek such information by combing through the app's lengthy privacy policy and privacy settings sections, which are buried within an opaque discussion of TWC's potential transmission of geolocation data to third parties for use for additional commercial purposes. I said that wrong. Buried within which are opaque discussions of TWC's potential transmission of geolocation data to third parties for use for additional commercial purposes. Indeed, on information and belief, the vast majority of users do not read those sections at all. Apologies in advance to Brandon, who has to edit all of that. Unbeknownst to many users, the Weather Channel app has tracked users' detailed geolocation data for years, analyzing or transmitting that data to third parties for a variety of commercial and advertising purposes, including for targeted advertisements based on locations users frequent, and for hedge funds interested in analyzing consumer behavior. In fact, maximizing the amount of geolocation data the Weather Channel tracks is at the core of their business model. According to their executives, that data is one of the primary reasons IBM acquired TWC. And there's a footnote here, footnote 7. Okay, that doesn't tell us anything useful without going down the rabbit hole. The people bring this action to end TWC's unfair and fraudulent business practices, namely its practice of deceiving users into allowing TWC to track intrusive personal geolocation data through misleading statements and omissions regarding what the data will be used for and to whom it will be sent. The people seek civil penalties and injunctive relief, barring TWC from engaging in these prohibited business practices. So then they go over the parties, of course. We can skip most of this. The people of the state of California are suing under their unfair competition law, which is California Businesses and Professions Code, section 17,200 ex sequitur. Ex sequitur means thereafter. The TWC defendant is a Delaware corporation. They added some John Does who are defendants, who they don't know their names. They could be fictitious names. And when the true names are ascertained, they will change the fictitious names into real names. That's normal John Doe stuff. The people allege that in addition to acting on its own behalf, all of the acts and omissions described in this complaint by any defendants were duly performed by and attributable to all defendants. Okay, we don't need that either. We'll go past jurisdiction and venue. and we'll go into the law. The unfair competition law prohibits unfair competition. Sounds good start. Which is broadly defined as including any unlawful, unfair, or fraudulent business act or practice, and unfair, deceptive, untrue, or misleading advertising, and any act prohibited by Chapter 1, which commences at Section 17,500. The purpose of the UCL is to protect both consumers and competitors by promoting fair competition in commercial markets for goods and services. This is really important, so I'm just going to take a second and go over this. We live in a free market, so anything goes, right? Not so fast. A true free market is actually subject to a lot of regulation. And the freedom of the market means the freedom of the consumers and businesses to choose and move about, choosing their products and doing their business as freely as possible while yet maintaining fairness in the market. This is not Leonard French's definition. This is a well-accepted definition of a free market. So when you hear someone talk about the freedom of the market, it does not mean an unregulated market. It means a market that is properly regulated so that those regulations lubricate the markets to operate properly within a set of responsible and fair circumstances, rules, basically. So yes, you can over-regulate a market to the point that it's not free, but you can also under-regulate a market to the point that it's not free. It is not something where it's binary, free or not free. It's rather like a bell curve, and in the middle is where you find the maximum freedom. Because Section 17,200, or the UCL, is written in the disjunctive, a business act or practice need only be unlawful, unfair, or fraudulent to be considered unfair competition. Under the fraudulent prong, a business is prohibited if it is likely to mislead or deceive a reasonable consumer, or where the business practice is aimed at a particularly susceptible audience, a reasonable member of that target audience. And maybe there should have been an or in there. Under the unfair prong, a practice may be deemed unfair even if not specifically prescribed by some other law. The UCL authorizes the city attorney to bring an enforcement action against any person who has engaged, or proposes to engage in unfair competition. Person includes natural person, corporations, firms, partnerships, stock companies, associations, or other organizations of persons. The remedies for violations of the UCL include injunctive relief and restitution. In addition, when a UCL action is brought by the city attorney in the name of the people, the city may seek civil penalties of up to $2,500 for each violation. And I'm going to assume that the city is going to seek each violation as each individual person who had their information used in an unfair or illegal way. So that means if there's 45 million users, multiply, 45 million is only 1 month, so however many of hundreds of millions of users this turns out to be, by 2,500 each. And though they might not get that number or even settle for that number, that's the number that we're talking about.
Because I'm gonna assume they can't just use the 45 million users. They actually have to determine how many are in, where are we?
California.
California, sorry.
Okay, so yeah, it's some subset,
Yeah.
I guess. It's only the California users. But this might also be something that other states' attorney generals or city attorneys, or maybe even civil plaintiffs, individuals like you or I, might bring and say, hey, you violated my state's code, and now you owe me restitution, which usually restitution for those things means whatever steps you have to take to protect your privacy now. And that's a really interesting question, too, because what in the world steps could you take to protect your privacy once it's lost?
Yes. I also wonder now, with that all coming over, if this is something available internationally, how would that affect with the GDPR? Where you're supposed to protect my information,
yeah.
I never gave you consent to sell it off.
Where an act of unfair competition is perpetrated against senior citizens or disabled persons, the city attorney may seek additional penalties of $2,500 each violation. Unless otherwise expressly provided, the remedies or penalties provided by the UCL are cumulative to each other and to the remedies or penalties available under all other laws of the state. So they're facing some serious allegations here with some serious money involved. And this would be something where I would expect IBM in this case to go contact the city attorney and say, okay, we'll improve our stuff and we'll agree to a settlement. I don't know how many millions of dollars a settlement will be, but I'm imagining millions of dollars. I'm thinking $50 million or something like that. It would be proportional to the damage that's been done specifically to the state of California's people. I would expect, though, that other states would seek similar things, and we'll definitely report on that. So they go into some more of the allegations. I'm not sure how much of this is going to repeat, but they're going to be explaining that the Weather Channel app leads users to believe that their geolocation data will only be used for weather-related purposes, and they don't provide any sort of disclaimers or, exception, go see this terms of service here or something, and instead the users don't really know. We're never really on notice, which really isn't that high of a requirement. But if they didn't do the minimum thing, then yeah, they won't have the protection of saying that users agreed to this. So they go into some more details here. Users download things. Here is the prompt from, it looks like an iPhone. Allow the weather to access your location, and it says you'll get personalized local weather data alerts and forecasts. The permission prompt does not disclose that TWC will share geolocation data with third parties, nor that the geolocation information will be used for advertising or other commercial purposes unrelated to weather or services the app provides. So they might even be able to get away with providing advertisement related to the weather.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Also, one thing, can you scroll tiny up? So it says here, when do you want to get tracked? So only using an app or always allow. Well, in the complaint, it's saying it's tracking you always, even if you're not in the app. So it doesn't mean that might be another violation if it says, if you clicked only use my location when I'm in the app.
Yeah.
That will say
that sounds like an iOS and Android permission. That if you were able to choose only while using this app in iOS or Android, the operating system might not provide your location to the Weather Channel app. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that they couldn't find a way around that. I haven't really. It hasn't been available. Permissions in Android and iOS hasn't been around for long enough for everybody to figure out what's vulnerable and what's not. Once the app has been installed and opened, after the user has initially decided whether or not to grant access, the user can access additional information via the Settings tab. The Settings tab is shown here. However, based on the permission prompt, a reasonable user has no reason to believe the Settings tab would contain any additional information regarding TWC's uses of geolocation data. Moreover, the most apparent section of the Settings tab in which additional geolocation details may be contained, the Location section, does not contain any further information about the use of location data. And in fact, this is all that it says there. Now, I haven't developed for iOS or Android, so I don't know how much you have control over what the permissions tab for your thing says, for your app says, but I'm assuming they can add text down here or something. In fact, only by combing through the privacy settings and privacy policies sections can users learn that their geolocation data may be used for purposes other than local weather data alerts and forecasts. Furthermore, the privacy settings and section of the app are less than forthcoming. The section vaguely states that geolocation data may be used for geographically relevant ads and content and may be shared with partners for the provision of services such as business operations, advertising solutions, or promotions. Scattered throughout various sections of the nearly 10,000-word privacy policy, TWC states that it may use geolocation data to provide advertisements that are relevant to your geographic location, to conduct undefined analytics to improve the services, and for other undefined research or commercial purposes, e.g. analyzing trends based on foot traffic. On information and belief, TWC intentionally obscures this information because it recognizes that many users would not permit the weather app to track their geolocation data if they knew the true use of that data. In fact, according to the general manager of TWC's consumer division, if a consumer is using your product and says, hey, wait a minute, why do they want to know where I am? You are going to have some problems. So they then go into how the TWC app transmits geolocation data to third parties. They are able to convince approximately 80% of the app's users to grant access to their geolocation data, which they then proceed to track in minute detail. Executives state that they track consumers' movement throughout the day, week, and year with uber-precise geolocation monitoring, collecting data that is accurate down to 5 decimal places. I'm assuming that's latitude and longitude down to 5 decimal places, which is still has a few, a little bit of imprecision, but it's pretty darn precise at that level, thus tracking users' personal data with unmatched accuracy and precision. Quote, TWC contends that it possesses the, quote, world's largest continuous set of first-party place data, geolocation data. Throughout this massive data collection scheme, TWC is able to track users' precise daily movements and analyze where they choose to spend their time throughout the day and night. It is sold to advertising and marketing companies. At least a dozen third-party websites received this geolocation data over the past 19 months. TWC and its affiliates have developed their own audience-derived location targeting platform called JourneyFX. Through JourneyFX, TWC and its affiliates analyze the data to ascertain a slew of personal information about users, to, quote, understand rituals, consumers' patterns of behavior, and the best time to market in order to influence that behavior. Wow. For example, a JourneyX case study found that affiliates leveraged first-party location data generated by the Weather Channel app to target McDonald's McCafe coffee offerings towards millennials who, according to that geolocation data, frequented breakfast-style diners. And this would be fine if users had agreed to it.
Yes.
And a lot of people do. Other location data was provided to hedge funds interested in consumer behavior. TWC's wealth of weather and location data is the main reason IBM acquired it. And so they go into the causes of actions. They say it is fraudulent and deceptive to do this without consumers being fully aware of what their data is being used for. And so they ask for a $2,500 civil penalty for each violation, an additional $2,500 penalty for it being used against senior citizens and disabled persons, to recover the costs of the lawsuit, to be granted further relief, and they've included a thing here for an injunction that they be enjoined from engaging in these practices. So that's very interesting that the city of Los Angeles, I thought it was initially the county, it is the city of Los Angeles that is suing on behalf of this people of the state of California, suing the Weather Channel. So what do we think of that? Very interesting, huh?
Yes.
How would you feel if you learned that there was a marketing company tracking your every movement?
Well, I kind of already feel like that would go.
Yeah.
Facebook
and Amazon are already doing that, so it doesn't really change anything for me.
Yeah, it's one of those. I logged out of Facebook. I haven't been logged into Facebook for a couple weeks now. I think I did it at the beginning of my trip to Scotland, and I'm going to honestly keep that up as long as possible. But there's a political campaign coming up. You know, I disagree with certain political administrations right now, so I might have to give in to Facebook's illegal privacy schemes so that I can spread my own messages about my feelings about certain political administrations. But
so something happened to me the other day. I think Amazon has figured out when I get paid and also what I'm looking for. So I got paid a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I really need a new remote for my TV because my Switch, I can't play my Switch on it without just unplugging an HDMI cable and plugging it in. And I opened Amazon, and immediately it gave me a link to my TV's remote control. Like my TV's model of remote control, and I was like, that is creepy. And then I bought it because that's what I needed.
Yeah. TV from Amazon?
No.
Wow. Yeah, I have a similar creepy Amazon story, and this was very creepy to me. Now, I know how this happened, so let me finish before you assume the first part, because I'm going to start it dramatically. I unplugged my Amazon Alexa, and then I complained about the Amazon Alexa online, and then I got a phone call from Amazon. An actual person called me on my actual phone to ask why I was dissatisfied with Alexa and if there's anything they could do to help. That was a little more creepy than I had anticipated.
Yeah.
I thought it was already creepy that Alexa had, access basically to all the audio in your house. But no. They reassure you that it only turns on if it hears the word Alexa, and it only records and sends stuff if you complete a request or whatever. Yeah, then there was that 1,700 audio files that were provided to the wrong customer, which that was just too much for me. That was the straw. I'm an attorney. The Alexa sits in my office. How do I know that they don't occasionally turn it on, or that I don't occasionally accidentally turn it on and it's recording parts or all of conversations with clients or something? So we turned it off, we unplugged it, and I went online to express my disappointment. Now, right before I unplugged it, the thing that really freaked me out was that it gave the red ring of death or whatever, which I think just means that it's not connected to Amazon at the moment, and so it won't work.
Yeah.
But then it would not explain to me why it was not able to connect. Was it a Wi-Fi problem? Was it an Amazon service problem or whatever? And that was the straw. That was all I needed. I needed literally the tiniest little bit of thing. And I was like, nope, I'm done. And I unplugged it, and I'm never plugging it back in. Not even to use it as a speaker. I don't even know, because I don't know how you would turn off the Alexa part to get to the speaker part. It was a good speaker. I like the speaker part. But that's along the same lines. I think Amazon and Google are using Google Home and using Amazon Alexa and using Hey Siri and using the Google one that I'm not going to say because both phones will go off. Mostly as marketing, which is understandable. We know that. But at the same time, the level they're taking it to is so unbelievably creepy that I'm just out. I'm out. I can find my own things. I don't need targeted marketing to be that accurate. I'm out.
Yeah, and did you explain this is why I don't use my Alexa? I turned it off because I did a story where you guys sent the wrong data to somebody and it was really weird, so I unplugged it, and now you're calling me to ask me why I'm not using Alexa. How do you know I'm not using Alexa? This is so creepy.
Yes, I said that. They reassured me that they were calling because I had reviewed the thing on Amazon and given it a bad review. That's what they were calling about. That's still pretty creepy. So it wasn't that they called me because I unplugged my Alexa. However, the chain of events started with me unplugging my Alexa. And then Amazon was just very concerned as to why I would want to unplug my Alexa. Now, hear me out here. I'm not accusing Amazon of doing this, but if someone was being investigated by the government or by some or just we don't even know which government, right? It's not necessarily the US government. It could be another government. If someone is being investigated by any government, even one that might just politically disagree with them, and Amazon was under some obligation to follow court orders from that government, and the government knew, and Amazon knew that you had placed, or Google knew that you had placed a microphone, an internet-connected microphone in your house, and all they had to do was turn it on, and let's say that they are or are not using it, but they want to, and you just unplugged it, wouldn't you expect someone to find the most benign way to call and say, hey, could you please turn your internet-connected microphone back on, please? Of course, that's exactly the same thing. It's exactly what they would do. Now, I'm not some giant conspiracy theorist. I don't really think that the government is after me and that's what they want to turn on my microphone. But how would a person know? You wouldn't. You absolutely would not. We have things like FISA courts, and if there was a person who was under surveillance by a FISA court or through a FISA court, Amazon wouldn't be able to tell you even if they wanted to. And if they could turn on their microphone and record you, they wouldn't be able to tell you, even if they wanted to. So, mine's unplugged.
It's just so weird.
Yeah. All right. So now we have.
Well, me and Tactical were wondering if you'd be willing to read these super chats really quick.
Oh, there are super chats. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to send you a list right now. There you go.
Please go ahead. Thank you very much, super chats. I wasn't even thinking. We're on YouTube and people can do super chats. So thank you very much to Max Mech, $10 at 1:16 p.m. Really appreciate your donation. I never get to see the Sunday stream, and I have YouTube Premium, so I can listen to the stream. Great. Noah Jones, thank you for the $9.99 tip at 1:18 p.m. Really appreciate it. Towards student loans. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Whiskers, $5. Cats greater than dogs. Green Monkey, $2. Holy crap, I caught you live. Yes. And Jinzo. Jinzo is £2. 1:50 p.m. H3H3 update and a heart. Thank you very much, Jinzo. Sorry we didn't get to see some of you who are from England or the UK or Scotland or such.
Yeah, England is a bit away.
Well, yeah, England's actually a lot farther away than I thought. It's basically like the same as Pennsylvania to Ohio, like 500 or 600, or 300 or 400 miles, or 500 or 600 kilometers.
Well, not that much. I mean, it's like a 1.5 hour drive to get to the border. It's not that far.
That's the border. I was talking about like London.
You were talking about,
or actually the far side of London. Yeah, that was going to be more like the 300 or 400 miles or kilometers or whatever. So we didn't get
meet up in London.
Well, there's a lot of things that we should have done. I should have brought a teleprompter, frankly, because I would have preferred to read all this off the teleprompter. However, we do have a company, telepromptermirror.co.uk, I think it is, or something like that. Just search for teleprompter glass or teleprompter mirror, and there is a company that makes teleprompter glass basically as cheap as I think you could, about $100 for a letter size or A4 size piece of 70-30 beam splitter glass. So that, coupled with the fact that they make an HDMI mirror device, I think we're going to start using this little, it's plugged in. Actually, it's not plugged in. It's not working, so I can unplug it. But we have a very simple little monitor here that I bought. This is also very inexpensive. It's just a Sony tablet that a Chinese manufacturer converted into a HDMI compatible monitor. And it's actually a touchscreen as well. Not that that matters for a teleprompter, but there's no reason why I can't hook that up with a mirror image thing, put it into a teleprompter, and carry it. It's literally going to be this thick. I can carry it with me as I travel. So we have a teleprompter that I made sort of rudimentary back in the States, and I'll continue to use that one with my tablet. But now we have a production quality increase coming when we figure these things out. Scottish language is basically a cross between English and German. I think the Scots may disagree with you.
I think I might disagree with you. God, who said that? Who are we going to ban? I'm joking.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
I'm joking here.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about this. Yeah, it worked! So the Office of Personnel Management said feds, which they're referring to federal workers, Now, if you're not familiar, the federal government is still, can someone confirm that nothing's changed? I don't think anything's changed, but, just make sure. But the federal U.S. government is shut down, and all non-essential workers are furloughed, which means they're basically not getting paid for the work that they're doing because of the government shutdown. So the Office of Personnel Management has sent sample letters that you may use as a guide when working with your creditors during the furlough. If you need legal advice, please consult with your personal attorney. Now, first of all, the commenter at the bottom there is absolutely correct. Gesundheit.
Sorry.
What a useless letter. What regular Joe has a personal attorney? This is the equivalent of the middle finger emoji. And I give it right back to you. And I agree. This is... I think they meant to be helpful. At the same time, they did something that's a little bit unhelpful. Let me bring up...
The shutdown is still going on.
And the shutdown is still going on. So we are still in the middle of a federal government shutdown. So what happened? The website abovethelaw.com, which is a very fun website for you to read regularly. They have lots of the same kinds of law stories that we produce here. And in fact, occasionally we get notice of a story through a website like Above the Law, and we try not to plagiarize it, but we bring you something similar because stories are stories, and they have some good stories. So here is one from Above the Law, and I'm not going to show you their entire website because I want you to read it for yourself, and it's not a fair use for me to show you their entire website. But the beginning of this article is that helpful rent tips for federal government lawyers furloughed by the shutdown have also said they recommend that out-of-work employees take up maintenance work. And so we found the letter, and I think I have the letter here. Let me just...
I think you had it on the other tab already open.
No, that was the tab that I just showed.
Okay.
What I had here...
It's in...
There we go.
No, the tip stuff, I posted it.
You posted it here?
Yes.
And my computer is behaving very slowly for Discord for some reason.
Okay, scroll up.
Yep. I want this link to be in this browser.
You didn't copy it.
What? What do you mean I didn't copy it? Oh, poo. This is it. We'll break this bigger. So this is a sample letter to a landlord. Dear name of company or individual with whom you have spoken. Now, this looks like it's been printed out, crumpled up, thrown away in frustration, and then as the absurdity starts to reach the person who has crumpled this up and thrown it away, they've gotten it back out and uncrumpled it to say, wait a second, I need to post a picture of this on Twitter. And so Above the Law got a hold of this letter, and this is allegedly a copy of what the Office of Personnel Management sent out. And it says, this is to confirm our conversation of such and such a date. This is like a letter that you would have a conversation and then send out a modified letter, in which we discussed a temporary reduction in my monthly rent. As we discussed, I'm a federal employee who has recently been furloughed due to a lack of funding by my agency. Because of this, my income has been severely cut and I'm unable to pay the entire cost of my rent along with other expenses. As we've agreed in conversation, I will be able to make regular monthly payments in the amount of X. I realize that I will be responsible to pay the remainder of the payments when I return to work, and I will contact you immediately to work out a plan to take care of the reduced payment. I will keep in touch with you and keep you informed about my income status. And so far, all of this is unfortunate but normal until you get to, and I would like to discuss with you the possibility of trading my services to perform maintenance, e.g. painting, carpentry, in exchange for partial rent payments. Now, that could work. I could definitely see a person exchanging side work for money when they are not getting money from their job.
Yes, but...
However, unless the worker that's been furloughed is a maintenance worker, it's not automatically it's very arrogant, and it's not automatically true that a person would have any skills in maintenance whatsoever. I have friends who are very, very, very good at their job, and their job involves some very, very soft or technological things. And yet these people call me and ask me for help with installing very, very basic things that require mere screwdrivers or a hammer. And that's okay. That has to be okay. So now what? We expect some workers to be advantaged by the fact that they can do maintenance work, and other workers to be, what, just hung out to dry because they don't have any maintenance skills to help feed themselves with? So this was an extraordinarily tone-deaf letter. And it turns out that the Office of Personnel Management may have agreed that that was a little tone-deaf, because when we go over to the letter that's on their website now, it's not there. They have a sample letter to a creditor. They have a sample letter to a mortgage company. The letter to the landlord is gone. Not even edited, just gone. In fact, it might have been this last page. I don't know. But it's just gone and is not there anymore. Tactical did a little bit of research for us and found that this letter was, in fact, put out by the Office of Personnel Management with the maintenance line in there originally, and that it has since been removed. And if you go to the OPM's website now, you can't find that version of the letter.
Yeah, so using the Wayback Time Machine thing, we were able to see that there was a version that's had the trading maintenance services all the way back in 2015. And December 9th, it still had that extra line on it. So it's sometime after this particular shutdown started that they removed that page.
I'm one of your friends that it can't do anything. Like, I have no idea how to do the work around the house. Like Chris always has to come down here and like snake the drain, or like, you know, like I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm good at my job at my day job, but like, you know, I have no common sense when it comes to things like carpentry and maintenance.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Oh, one of the things that was pointed out on Twitter as well is that there are certain employees that, if they're deemed essential, still have to go into work, and they still have to work. They're just not getting paid. So now they have to get the equivalent of a second job in order to be able to pay their mortgage.
And they will be paid eventually, but it's like right now they're not.
They're supposed to be paid, right? But remember, Congress has to assign that money. It doesn't automatically happen when the government reopens. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm a copyright attorney. I do not know how this works, but my recollection from previous furloughs, previous shutdowns, and there have been a couple of them, that the workers didn't automatically get their back pay until Congress appropriates the money for it.
From my very limited amount of time I quickly spent going through some of the documents on the, what is it, OPM website, it was some Q&As as well, like, does this mean this is going to be a break in my job? But they're like, oh no, it's no break in your job, you're still an employee who is not being paid. So kind of like they're putting in like you're doing voluntary work now, and therefore
right. Well, the one right before that said you're not allowed to volunteer, so you can't forego your pay, but they can make you forego your pay.
Well, yeah, they didn't quite
so
say
I guess
voluntary
the
work,
people
but they say
who are essential workers will still get paid when the government reopens. Mm-hmm. How about the non-essential workers who didn't have to come to work? I don't know that they get repaid any of that money. They might literally lose all of that money if when the government is reopened, Congress doesn't also appropriate money to pay those non-essential workers' salaries. That's another thing I'm concerned about. Yeah. So
Because they even highlight in a document that depending on what state you're in, you're able to possibly apply for unemployment.
Yeah. And so then we talk about corporate welfare, right? How like Walmart doesn't pay its employees enough, so they have to go on state benefits. Now the federal government's employees need to go on state benefits, and the states can't sue the sovereign United States federal government for that money. This is just a horrible situation all around, only made slightly more horrible by telling people, oh, go get another job.
Yeah.
Okay,
as a maintenance worker.
Seem like a strange question, but for Washington, D.C., that's not a state. So
Correct.
How do they do like unemployment insurance benefits and stuff like that?
It would be a city law.
Oh, okay.
Or it would have its own special federal law just for DC or something. I'm not exactly
but if it's
sure.
Federal, if it's dispersed through the federal government, then I'm just wondering if they
DC can't necessarily sue the federal government. So concepts of sovereignty, the federal government is sovereign, meaning nobody can sue it successfully, except there's a caveat. The courts and the law has recognized that you can sue the sovereign if the sovereign gives you permission to sue it. In other words, if Congress creates a law that says you're allowed to sue the government for this. The Constitution is one of those laws. So like the Amendment 5 takings clause, that public property shall not be used for private purposes without proper compensation or due compensation to the offended party. It's not exactly the words close, but that is a remedy right there. If you have had property taken by federal or state eminent domain, you are due just compensation. And yes, there's a huge argument as to exactly what is just compensation and what's what's private property taken for public use. I reversed those when I said it. Sorry, but what is that? Like, so there was the whole Kelo versus City of New London thing, where the private property, the entire city basically at the waterfront district, was being taken by eminent domain for the pharmaceutical company that was going to run the waterfront property. Now that sounds like private property being taken for a private purpose. But no, the Supreme Court disagreed and said this, even taking private property and giving it to a private entity, or selling, I think they were selling it, but it was still not something that would have been able to be acquired otherwise. That even that is an okay taking as long as there is some kind of public service, the tax revenue from the waterfront, the additional attention that the area will now receive, and all that. Now, the end of the Kelo thing is that the backlash and the amount of time it took to get up to the Supreme Court actually shut down the whole City of New London project. And it became a ghost town for a while. I don't know its status now. I'm assuming it's bounced back because it's New London, Connecticut, I think. Not Rhode Island or Connecticut are still going to be very popular places to live that close to New York City and Boston. So there's no reason why the city wouldn't have bounced back by now. But for a time, when everything had been taken but couldn't be used yet because of injunctions and stays and things at the various court levels, the town was a ghost town. And the developer, I don't know if the developer went bankrupt, but the developer had to back out of the project because they didn't have financing. And what are you going to do? Just sit around and wait for a court case? No, you need your money. So last but not least, and we will include some time at the end of this thing to discuss super chats and just hang out and stuff. But last but not least, this is Curtis Brunner versus Burger King Corporation. This is in the state of Oregon. I've never heard of this county before. Multnomah County. I'm not sure if that's Portland or what, but it says here that Mr. Brunner, on the afternoon of Saturday, December 15th, 2018, when we got our Silver Play Award.
Yes.
Mr. Brunner visited his local Portland area Burger King, located at 2555 Northeast 238 Drive, so you can even find out which one they're talking about. Mr. Bruner ordered a meal, paid for his food, took a seat. After Mr. Bruner... Now I want a burger. After Mr. Bruner finished his meal, he walked into Burger King's bathroom. Mr. Bruner used the bathroom, washed his hands, and walked towards the door to leave. Very important that everybody know he washed his hands. It's very important.
Yes.
When Mr. Bruner pulled on the door handle to leave the bathroom, the door would not open. After repeatedly pulling hard on the door handle without success, Mr. Bruner took out his phone and he called the Burger King number listed on his receipt. The employees repeatedly tried pushing on the bathroom door but were unable to open it. Burger King employees eventually slid a fly swatter under the bathroom door and told Mr. Bruner to try and pry the bathroom door lock open. Despite eventually cutting his hand attempting to use the fly swatter on the lock, the bathroom door would not open. Mr. Bruner could hear Burger King employees and customers laughing while he remained locked inside in its bathroom for well over an hour before a locksmith finally came and broke him out. Burger King provided Mr. Bruner a Band-Aid and ointment for the cut on his hand and offered to settle the matter in exchange for a lifetime supply of Burger King meals at no cost.
Okay. Also, I for once now finally saw a reason to keep the receipts.
Yeah?
Because normally when they're like, would you like a receipt? And I'm like, I just bought some chips. Like, I don't think I'm going to return it.
Yeah, you get locked in the Tesco bathroom. How are you going to figure out what number to call?
Yeah.
It's not like we have mobile computers in our pockets at all times.
Hey, he's pretty lucky that he was, or he would have been stuck in there possibly longer.
Plus, with bigger brands, they normally just have the headquarters, so you first need to phone the headquarters number to then forward you to the local branch.
Yeah, you can't. A lot of times you can't even get a hold of a local branch of anything. When I bought this computer that I'm literally streaming on, they promised me and assured me that support would be easy to get and I would have no problem, just call a phone number. Well, of course, there was a problem not with the computer, not with anything technical, but there was a problem with my actual Microsoft account. Over the years, Microsoft has converted the systems or something, and I ended up having 3 Microsoft accounts under different email addresses, but that they were all the same account, and it wouldn't let me reconcile them. And of course, their phone system has no option for that, so their phone system wouldn't let me talk to anybody. Since I couldn't correctly categorize my problem, they wouldn't let me talk to anybody. So I literally had to call, when I called the store number, it literally forwarded me back to the same support system that wouldn't give me to anybody. So I finally was like, okay, well, I'll get to somebody by hitting one of the numbers that doesn't apply and then explaining that I need to talk to the store. And then they wouldn't let me talk to the store. So I basically had to threaten to return the thing on the very same day that I bought it, which was going to be another hour-and-a-half drive for me away, because they wouldn't let me get to a person. And so I did call somebody or did finally get to a tech support person who was like, okay, I'll send you to the store. And then the store was like, okay, we'll let you talk to the associate. And then they were like, okay, we're sorry that we promised you'd have support and then gave you this horrible runaround. Here, let me just click a button here and look, your Microsoft account is fixed, it's all done. It was literally half an hour of effort of me just trying to get to somebody to do literally one click of a mouse on something they had a lot of control over. Wouldn't it have saved everybody a lot of hassle? I mean, I'm never going to buy a Microsoft laptop again without doing the thing in the store where I go, okay, what's the phone number? Oh, look, I haven't reached somebody yet? Yeah, take $100 off the laptop, please. You know? You lied to me. So after the incident described in this complaint, Burger King offered to settle with Mr. Bruner in exchange for a lifetime supply of Burger King meals at no cost. Mr. Bruner accepted Burger King's offer. Hang on, yeah, okay, we are here. Good. Mr. Bruner accepted Burger King's offer, and initially, they provided the meals at no cost. But then, Burger King reneged and told Mr. Bruner that it no longer intended to honor the agreement. Mr. Bruner seeks a court order for specific performance requiring Burger King to resume providing him a lifetime supply of meals at no cost as agreed. Mr. Bruner is 50 years old, as a Burger King Whopper meal costs about $7.89. Assuming that Mr. Bruner lives to be 72 years old and consumes on average one Burger King Whopper meal per week for the rest of his life, the value of Burger King's agreement with Mr. Bruner is $9,026.16. If the court will not require Burger King's specific performance under the agreement, Mr. Bruner instead requests judgment for the $9,000 against Burger King, which is the value of the lifetime supply of Burger King meals that he was promised. Now, I would like to take a moment and point out how honorable Mr. Bruner's request appears to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They agreed to a lifetime supply, and he's saying once a week for 22 years is fine.
Yeah.
That's
super limited.
Pretty honorable. Like, he could have probably argued once a day for 22 years.
Once a day for 50 years. Like, I could be 100 years old. Like,
well, probably not if you eat a Burger King meal every single day, but...
Yeah, that's the other point, is that, I'd come back and say, well, you're not supposed to eat a Burger King meal every day, but...
I don't care. That wasn't the agreement.
He has the choice. He has the choice. And and if you eat a Burger King meal every day, you're definitely going to be shortening your lifespan. Real quick, my doctor told me to cut down on the McDonald's, and so I eat at Chipotle now, and I make myself, burritos at home and stuff with chicken and rice, and my cholesterol's gone down, and my doctor said I was so healthy I didn't have to see him for 2 years, and everything's great. Now my trouble is I need to cut down on the sugar, but
you've done well on that.
I've been doing well. I just don't know. I might have to go a lot farther.
You're in Scottish rehab right now.
Oh, literally. Yeah, I literally cut down on my sugar before I came here so that I wouldn't be in such shock when things tasted different, because there's no salt and no sugar in anything over here. But very little salt and no sugar. There is sugar, but there's a sugar tax and stuff. So these are just as expensive over here as they are in the States. About $2. Well, actually, no. This is about $2 a bottle over here, probably because of the.
A bottle.
Well, it's 180 pounds per bottle.
Oh yeah, for some reason they discounted just like when you came. Because when I first looked at it the other months before you were coming, they were like £2 per bottle, and I was just like.
Also, oh sorry, did I cut you off?
No, it's fine.
Also, this is a great example of pleading in the alternative. If the court will not require Burger King's specific performance. Because if you did both things, if you said I want the meals and the money, that would be a preliminary objection that the opposing side could bring and say, hey, you're not allowed to double remedy. And like, no, I meant it in the alternative. Well, this is pleading it in the alternative to overcome that objection before you even get there. Also, this complaint is only 6 pages long, and notice that they have not repeated anything except this one sentence at the beginning of the breach of the agreement section. This is a great example of a concise, well-pled complaint, in my humble opinion. So then they also plead negligence in the alternative. If Burger King refuses to honor its agreement with Mr. Bruner, or if Burger King's attorneys later argue that no legally enforceable agreement was reached, now why would that be? Then Mr. Bruner intends to seek compensation for his injuries. So what does that mean, that the attorneys might argue that no agreement was reached? There's actually a really, really good legal basis for this statement. First, do the employees of a specific Burger King branch really have the authority to say, we're going to settle a legal claim with you? Do they have the authority to say, we'll give you a free meal a week for life? Isn't it maybe the Burger King manager?
But that means he will have a free meal with that manager until that manager leaves the job.
Right. And then maybe the Burger King owner? Okay, maybe like that franchise branch's owner, because it's a franchise. It's owned or operated in some way by Burger King, the company, or up to their standards under a franchise agreement. But usually, unless it's a store-owned, a Burger King-owned store, it is owned by a franchisee who has, through their profits, paid for the right to be a Burger King owner.
That would constitute an agreement with that franchise and that franchise only.
Sure.
Which is its own entity. So
then what if this guy wants to go get a Burger King meal, free for life somewhere else? Well, that's going to be tough to enforce. So, yeah, I could see that. But honestly, there's one more thing in the U.S. law that we have almost never covered on this channel that prevents this from being a real agreement. And that's the statute of frauds. So you've heard about the statute of limitations.
Yeah.
The law that says when a claim expires. 2 years for a personal tort or intentional tort, 4 years for contract. These numbers are not everywhere. I'm quoting my Pennsylvania numbers, and I'm only quoting the last time I looked, so it could actually be updated. For example, the one that we talk about a lot, and I have to be careful about demonetization here, but certain kinds of crimes against the person that are very personal in nature, that I can't even say the word because we get demonetized for just saying it, those had statute of limitations that were long but still short enough that a perpetrator could get away with it, that a victim might not realize how much of a victim they were, and they didn't sue or charge for many years. Sometimes that happens. The statute of limitations sets that. But then there's another law. There's the statute of frauds. It says some very basic things have to happen before an agreement is reached. And it isn't for all agreements, and it isn't... really what I mean to say is it only covers certain types of agreements. Agreements for large amounts of money, over $500, pretty much anywhere needs to be in writing. Now, your state will have their own statute of frauds. It's a state-to-state thing, but I'm going to quote some general numbers. That something over $500 has to be in writing. That there might have to be certain requirements in order to have certain agreements enforceable. Maybe an agreement for the transfer of property has to take a certain form or something like that. So you can't just go make an agreement for a lifetime supply of burgers on a handshake. You can start the agreement process with a handshake, and maybe that handshake is enforceable, but to have it be a fully completed agreement, it has to have been put into writing and signed. And then there's this other part, which is the agency law, or the corporate business law, corporate forms law, agency law. Who is allowed to bind a company to an agreement? Can a lowly Target or Walmart or Tesco employee bind the whole company to a free meals for life at their establishment, or Burger King or McDonald's or whoever? Can really any lowly employee say, oh, okay, well, you can come in? No, because that employee could go give meals to all their friends. The company would be bound, and then the company would have to go after a lowly employee for damages, and who knows how that would work out. No, it's not how that works. You must have the correct agency. And I don't mean like a travel agent. I don't mean like a lawyer agent. I mean you have to be the right person in the right position, showing the right amount of authority. So this is actual authority, apparent authority. These are agency laws. So you can't make this kind of binding legal agreement unless you are in the right amount of authority and agency. If you, the consumer, are trying to bind one of these companies, you have to show that the person you spoke to or dealt with or whatever had the authority, actual authority, or apparent authority. And that would be an argument that they told you that they were the right person. You thought you had all the reasons to believe that they were the right person. They did all the right things to make you believe that they were the right person. Something, somewhere along the line, you crossed the threshold into it's now enough that they are the corporate agent able to bind the company. So all of those arguments invalidate this agreement with Mr. Brunner and Burger King. So does that mean that Mr. Brunner loses his case? No. Mr. Brunner was locked in a bathroom for an hour, laughed at, and they handled it, frankly, negligently, in my humble opinion. They asked him to unlock the door himself using a tool that was not meant to unlock doors. Leonard French would be perfectly fine trying to unlock the door with a fly swatter. I'm a locksmith, or should I say I'm a certified locksmith. I don't work in the locksmith profession, but believe it or not, at 16 years old, I completed the Foley Bell Saw locksmithing certification and advanced locksmithing certification. So I am literally a certified locksmith, and I love watching the lockpicking lawyer on YouTube one of my favorite channels. I love watching the videos about penetration testers, both from a technological standpoint and from a physical penetration standpoint. How they're able to stop laughing, and how they're able to unlock, various doors. The one about a spray can, triggering the exit sensor using an upside down bottle of air spray or whatever. It's enough to cause the sensor to unlock the door and let you in. And this is a huge security vulnerability. You can see the locksmithing lawyer's latest video. I don't know if it's his latest now, but it was a very recent video where he was staying with Mrs. Lockpicking Lawyer at a hotel, and their door to their room was one of those double doors, or I don't know if it was their room or like just into the private section of the hotel, but there was a double door thing, and they didn't have the extra little safety catch properly caught. And so all you had to do was stick basically any stiff piece of paper, which included the do not disturb sign, in between, and it would just automatically unlock the door, because the little safety catch there, which, by the way, if you're not familiar, that little thing that's on the door latch, that like, what is that for? That tiny little thing that everybody thinks is maybe just a spacer or something. It's not a spacer, and it's not supposed to be spaced. It's not supposed to be, you're not supposed to give space for that. You need to make sure that your latch catches and not that spacer, not a spacer, and not that safety latch, because that safety latch is what prevents you from from pulling the thing open with a little piece of metal or a hook or something. So that's very important. So basically, they asked Mr. Bruner to do all of that in the bathroom. They asked him to try and slip the latch, and he cut his hand with a fly swatter. That was negligent, in my humble opinion. Employees should not be doing that. They should be calling a professional. Yeah. So, also, kudos to Mr. Bruner for maintaining his cool while he was in there. I'm not a person who likes to be trapped places, and if I was trapped in a bathroom, I might be having panic attacks, and who knows. I'm not saying there'd be a weapon involved, but I might very well be trying to get out of that bathroom any way I know how.
Oh, yeah, I definitely won't have the calm to think like, oh yeah, let's just call the employees here and get them to call getting out. I'd probably be the one that'd be shouting and screaming and banging the door.
Yeah,
I'm finding a window I can fit through and might embarrass myself. Yeah,
I might be breaking something and explaining later why I broke it, and not asking for help. That's a thing I have to work on. That's not something for me to brag about. I was trapped with an abusive choir director many years ago, and it has left quite a formidable impression on me. I do not like to even be in a crowd of people. I start to feel trapped and a little panicky. So yeah, we don't like to be trapped. If Burger King refuses to honor its agreement with Mr. Bruner, if Burger King's attorneys later argue that it's unenforceable, Mr. Bruner intends to seek compensation for his injuries. So basically, he's saying, if you aren't going to honor the agreement, then here, I want to be paid for my hour of humiliation and injury in the bathroom. And frankly, I don't see where they're asking for the exact amount of money for that. It could be much higher than the Burgers for Life. And it sounds like this is a very reasonable request here. So just to finish it, he says, at all times relevant, the defendant Burger King operated at that location it had a duty to maintain its premises in a safe and suitable condition for its customers. Prior to that time, Burger King's bathroom door showed signs of damage caused by other people who had previously been locked inside the bathroom, establishing that Burger King knew and should have known that its bathroom door lock was not safe or suitable for use by its customers. The knew or should have known language might have something to do with gross negligence. You can argue a higher level or a greater duty of care when you are aware of the problem. So if they were aware of the problem and did not take steps to fix it, that could have them liable for not just negligence, but gross negligence. However, it looks like they're only pleading negligence here. Could be amended later if they don't want to settle up.
Or they can just set it up so they can add it in.
As alleged in the complaint, Burger King was negligent in failing to exercise reasonable care by failing to maintain its premises in a safe and suitable condition. Mr. Bruner was harmed as a result. For well over an hour, Mr. Bruner's injuries were due in whole or in part to the acts and omissions of Burger King. So they were negligent in one of the following respects: failing to maintain a reasonably prudent restaurant, failing to maintain its bathroom in a safe and suitable condition, failing to timely and safely assist Mr. Bruner in exiting the bathroom. As a result, Burger King's negligent acts and omissions, as alleged in this complaint, Mr. Bruner experienced injuries, all of which were reasonably foreseeable. Pain caused by a cut in his hand, discomfort caused by being physically confined in a Burger King bathroom, probably not the cleanest bathroom in the world, embarrassment caused by being laughed at while confined, and I'm assuming as he's being let out, I'm assuming people were laughing too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I wouldn't laugh. It's kind of funny. I would also feel bad for the guy, but the situation is objectively funny. If Burger King refuses to honor its settlement, then Mr. Bruner intends to request fair compensation for the harm, not to exceed $9,026.16. So he's asking for a very reasonable amount of money.
Yeah.
And then his attorney says that they request reimbursed costs, disbursements, maximum pre- and post-judgment interest, and any other relief the court may deem necessary in addition to the relief sought in paragraphs 3 to 5. So I thought that was a very, very, very reasonable request on behalf of Mr. Bruner and his attorney. That doesn't seem like they're looking for a payday at all. It just looks like they're looking for the agreement that was originally agreed to. And I don't see any reason why he shouldn't get it. Think of it this way. If Burger King hands him $9,026.16, they are doing themselves a disservice because their product is cheap and they have high profit margins. So it will cost them probably only $2,000 of burgers and employee time. And that's without factoring in any risk that Mr. Bruner might not go to the restaurant and get a burger every week. Or he might not
become 72.
He might not become 72 while still exercising the agreement. So it's fully possible that Mr. Bruner's, Burger King's exposure to the original agreement is only a couple $1,000s and not the $9,000.
Yeah, just give him gift cards.
Bring a friend with him, and then the friend doesn't get a free burger, so the friend spends more money there. So the free burgers is definitely a better call in my opinion. So
it would be quite stupid on Burger King's part if they didn't honor the agreement in full. I honestly, I would even recommend that they don't even modify the agreement and try to get it to be only one per week. They should really honor the free meals for life, even if he gets more than one per week.
Yeah.
But honestly, even if it's just that, it's this really stupid decision of them to not pay or not give him the benefit of the agreement they made. So that's our show. What do you think of that, everyone?
We do have one more super chat.
Definitely. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that was $20 from Jacob Riker. I hope I'm saying that last name right. He doesn't have a message.
Thank
just
you,
wants
Jacob.
To support you.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Really appreciate that. Man, this all this talk of burgers has made me really hungry.
Yeah,
I'm super hungry for a burger too now.
Well, I'm just hungry.
Yeah, I'm not going to go get a burger either because I kind of already planned out my last meals here, but I'm going to go make something in the oven.
I haven't.
Well, then we can go get a burger. We'll find a Burger King that makes a vegetarian patty.
Well, McDonald's now does vegetarian Happy Meals for veganary.
Cool. That's nice.
Yes.
Let me see if I can pull up our Patreon list here, because I had to make it the other day for something. So, like I said before, we're still using Patreon. They haven't directly pissed us off. They've indirectly upset me in that they are playing with the people's revenue streams when they don't like what the people talk about. Certainly there's arguments to be made about whether the people that they have pulled from their platform are extremists or whether they're just people with views that differ from Patreon's. And there's this weird thing about whether MasterCard, the MasterCard, is telling Patreon to do this. I don't know. It's weird. It's a very weird situation. So obviously Patreon had set up its business in one way and then something happened. I don't think it's just Jacqueline Hart. I think it's something more. So I appreciate everyone who wants to move to a different platform. And if you want to support us via PayPal or some other way, please contact us directly via DM or something, email or something, because we will accommodate you. I can provide a way that you can support our channel without having to give Patreon the 5% of your money. That said, I still personally our channel is been built through Patreon, partially through Patreon support. So I can't just go shoot myself in the foot and just decline all Patreon revenue and hope that you'll all convert over to some other platform. So instead, what I'm going to do is diversify, and we will continue to seek other platforms and continue to work with our community directly. And we will keep the Patreon open. And if you don't want to support via Patreon, but you do want to support the channel, just please let us know directly. On that note, our $50 plus supporters for the month of January are Jonathan Doe, John Steele, Gavin Barnard, Evie, Andy, Kyle Mudrock, Vera Montaigne, Michael Pierce, Terry Crisp, Richard Fournier, Spirit Bear, Jan Negray, and Daniel Perez. Thank you very much for your support. Now, I know there are one or two of you who have contacted us for support outside of Patreon, so you won't be on that $50 list if you're a $50 supporter. And I deeply apologize that I don't have you on that list yet. I'm also not sure that there were any $50 plus supporters on that list yet. So I will correct that as soon as I get back to the States and as soon as I have a chance to figure that all out. For now, the $5 plus supporters will be put on a crawl as well that will be edited into the video like normal. I don't have a Patreon panel or LED panel for you at this time. We will get back to that all when I get back to the States to my studio there. And we also plan on making some changes to that studio. The studio's been very cluttered for a year. Basically, every time we do a story or I do a technology thing or whatever, I just put the thing up on the thing. And now it's full. Now, how cool is that, though? We have a full studio background that is so full it needs to be pared down. So we're making it look more pretty, more watchable, a little less cluttered. Still Leonard French, not somebody else's version of what I want to do. But maybe we'll even have a live stream of like going over everything that's on the wall and then taking it down one at a time and then putting it back up. It's going to take hours, yes. But we could do a stream on that. So thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much for joining me. We love you all. Your support is invaluable to us, really. We use your money in ways to enrich the channel, and any little bit of enrichment that we get on the side is, I try not to spend your money directly on something on me that's unrelated. I don't go buy myself a new car or whatever. You're not going to see that. I will drive my car into the ground or until it's economically sound to sell it and get another used car or something, because I want to see this succeed. So I just want you to know that your support is greatly appreciated and used for, the purposes that I've stated. So with that said, let's just have a little bit of a hangout discussion here. Brandon's welcome to edit this last part out. I just thought maybe before we close, if anyone has any last things to say, now's the time.
Bring up the chat.
Bring up the chat. So here's the chat. I apologize to chat that I haven't been able to pay attention to it. We only have so many screens, and I haven't solved every problem yet of traveling, and we will get that fixed for next time. Chris says, thank you. The people is like 60 to 70% of any job. Absolutely. I remember when I was working for a major engineering corporation that makes lighting controls. It was one thing to have a nice job where I was paid a salary, but I had to take tech support phone calls and everything. But it was really the people. It was really the people that were awesome to work with. The other engineers and technicians and technical support people, of which I was one of each at various times, and I was an IT person, and I was a process improvement engineer and all that. So yeah, the people are what made it awesome. And when I left that job for other reasons, I missed the people. I really, really missed the people. And now we have people. Look at this. We have a wonderful community that just loves the law. We have very few problems. We've had to moderate very few incidents. And even when there is a moderation incident, it's usually something where people just had a disagreement that needed to be calmed down a little bit. More cats.
Yes, I will get them. And to quickly answer, I don't even know how to pronounce your name. Smothered in Muffins.
Smothered in Muffins.
We went to Balloch, and from there we went to Balloch Country Park, and we took a cruise around Loch Lomond on a boat. So I have actually no clue what Glengoyne is, but
okay.
yeah.
Well, we'll have to look that up for next time. One thing I realized was that Scotland is bigger than I thought it was. And honestly, it's grown on me. I like this place. I'm going to miss it. I'm getting a little emotional thinking about leaving it. Not just you. I'm getting emotional thinking about leaving you, but I'm going to miss Scotland. This place really grew on me, and I'm going to have to come back.
There you are.
So.
I'm going to find cats.
Okay.
Oh.
Gabriel Gray, Leonard, mate, you spend my money however you want, worth every penny to have someone like you who makes the YouTube platform worthwhile. Oh, thank you, Gabriel Gray. Really appreciate that.
Aw, thank you, Gabriel.
And thanks for spending some time with us on this crappy Saturday, gray and raining here. Here too. I don't know if it was raining, but it was gray. Yeah. Here, I'll take Lucy.
It's gray and raining here too. It's actually our weather has been really Scottish for the past 3 weeks. Like, I wonder if it's like syncing up with you, Leonard.
Did I have haggis? No, we got to chase some haggis. We got to chase some haggis around. They're like these little like hairy pig looking things, and like the females run in a clockwise direction and the males run in a different direction, and then when they meet up they pair and make little haggy. So yeah, the haggis was fun to chase around the Highlands for a little while there.
You need to stop at like Tesco's before you leave, Kaylee, and get them some haggis and have them try it.
I have a vegetarian haggis in the freezer.
Oh, I need Leonard to try it. It's important.
I can't force him to.
No, I tried a Mars bar. That was probably my limit of weird foods. I'm happy to eat weird foods, but not haggis. Kind of just. I know how. So at some point in my life, not this. I don't remember what's in it right now, but at some point in my life, someone explained to me what's in it, and I was like, "No, thank you."
The vegetarian version has not all the weird stuff in it, and it's really nice.
Okay.
And it's January.
Well, next time.
I've had a gluten-free haggis, and it's not quite as meaty as a sausage, but like it feels kind of similar to a sausage, I guess. So I mean, if you're okay eating sausages, man, haggis is not that much weirder than sausage, in my opinion.
I'll consider it, but we're saving it for next time either way. Already,
you're like,
already started re-Americanizing myself and my foods. I literally went out and bought like salami and pepperoni and made myself salami, pepperoni, and cheddar cheese sandwiches on regular white bread. And Kelly was like, "Why are you eating regular white bread? That's for toasting. That's it."
I mean, I'm from the Netherlands, where the bread was really always nice and fresh, and I came here and this was just like, this is horrible. Like, I can't eat this without toasting. Like, at least if I toast it, it's not really that bad. But yeah.
Cheddar's from England, though. You probably got cheddar from England.
What?
Like,
it's possible. The cheddar cheese that we bought.
Oh, probably no.
I don't know where it came from. It was from Tesco.
Cheddar's a place in England. It's where that's where they make real cheddar.
Yeah, well, cheddar is now generally just in turn to describe just normal plain cheese, and it's not a protected area. Just like Gloucester cheese is not really protected.
One more thing, I don't want to put you on the spot, but how would you feel about playing Dungeons and Dragons, Leonard? Tabletop.
Like, at some point or right now?
Not now. No.
Okay. Yes, I liked Dungeons and Dragons. When I was 11 years old, we all played Dungeons and Dragons on the bus, the tour bus between gigs with our touring performing choir. So we had maybe half of the time on the bus was spent practicing music, and the other half of the time was spent reading or doing stuff. And sometimes the director would be working with this particular section or something, so the rest of us would just make up stories, basically like a dungeon master, but without any of the stats or dice or pencil and paper or anything. Yeah. So I would certainly be willing to do that. I'd even be willing to be a DM occasionally. I love creating weird stuff like that and making people do stuff that they didn't intend to do when they roll a 1 or a 20 or something. Anyway,
I really want to DM a Dungeons and Dragons session soon, very soon. So.
Kaylee and I were thinking of trying to stream some Monster Hunter later on Twitch.
But we first need dinner and we need to rip open my PC as well.
Yeah, so I gave Miss K one of my old SSDs, and it was already dying when I gave it to her a year ago or whatever, or half a year ago.
A year ago.
It was a year ago, wow. And it's probably dying for real now. So we're giving her one of my current SSDs. I brought, I don't know, half a dozen SSDs with me for all the footage I was going to shoot. And we did shoot several hundred gigabytes worth, but I also have a backup drive for that already. So I'm going to use the other 5 SSDs for editing and give Ms. Kaylee one.
Yeah, so there seems to be a lot of demand for a weekly Lawful Masters Dungeons & Dragons show.
Could it be a Dungeons & Dragons that includes a lawful twist?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I'm down for anything. I really want to DM...
You have offended the Lord of the Land. You are summoned to a hearing.
Oh, we could definitely... I could incorporate that easily into a normal campaign.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Also, speaking of lords and ladies, if you haven't seen The Favorite, because why would you go see a movie about Queen Anne? It's awesome. We were going to go see Mary Poppins, and instead I saw the Metacritic score on Mary Poppins was 65 out of 100. And I was like, are we sure? Are there other movies? And they were playing The Favorite. We wanted to do the VIP treatment because they get you get like dinner and a more or less private screening. It's really awesome. There were 4 people in the theater, and we got our own private, more or less private dinner and unlimited snacks, not the candies, but hot dogs and terrible chips and
nachos.
Okay, right, nachos, chips or fries here.
And popcorn.
But anyway, it was a good experience, and so they were playing The Favorite, and I was like, well, let's just look up the other movies. And it was like 90 something out of 100. Really? Like a movie about Queen Anne is a 90 out of 100? Yeah, it's really that good. You don't need to care about Victorian or Queen Anne or Scott. You don't need to care about that. The movie is freaking funny, hilarious, snarky. It never stops. Like from I didn't want to go to the bathroom when I had to go to the bathroom. It was that good. So go see The Favorite.
I want to say this on stream so everybody watching, all 327 people can hear. I'm looking right now at this moment to put together a beta version of a Dungeons & Dragons setup so that I can get the basics fleshed out. This wouldn't involve Leonard or Kaylee probably, but so just look in the tabletop channel on Discord and we can talk about getting a group set up just so I can test stuff out because I'm actually kind of a new dungeon master, but that's kind of what I want to do. So if you're on our Discord, you can check that out.
All right, so that's our show. Does anyone have any last thoughts? Otherwise, I'm going to take it down. We've been here almost 3 hours, and because we started at noon for the patrons. The patrons get a private stream ahead of time where we just basically shoot the shit.
Yeah, this was supposed to be a short slow. So
and this was. Yeah, I knew that the first story would be a little bit long. I didn't realize that my recap of 2018 was going to be 45 minutes.
Yes.
So, whatever. So thank you very much for joining me. I'm Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney, and I will see you in the videos that drop and in our next live stream. Love you all.